All right. Good evening, everybody. Uh, Someone can just give me a thumbs up. Let me know you can hear me okay, please. All right. Thank you, Carla. Thank you, Benton. Good to be with you all tonight. We'll go ahead and get started. You can just join palms as we begin. And repeat after me. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. And keeping the palms joined. All right. Good evening again. Thanks all for being here. My name is Jeff. I'll be leading Intro to Buddhism and Meditation tonight. I always like to start out with a question, just to give people a chance to communicate and share some thoughts, and also allow time for others who will be joining us to settle in. So I think the question I have for you today is, how are you doing with patience? It's a practice I talk about a lot. It's one of the 6 paramitas: generosity, morality, patience, diligence, concentration, wisdom. And they're all important. I can't really say that one is more important than the other. But I often personally feel that patience is, well, I don't want to say it's more important, but it's important. It's required for all the other 5. But it's a pretty simple question. Feel free to chime in. There's a chat box somewhere on your screen. Feel free to type in as little or as much as you'd like. I'll leave it as a pretty open-ended question, not about anything specific. I'll go ahead and type it in here. But how are you doing with patience? Again, pretty simple question. Could lead you to think about a lot of different things, different areas of your life. It's maybe some areas where you're lacking patience, some areas where you have tremendous patience, patience towards self, patience towards others, patience during a pandemic, patience with relationships. Where are you with patience right now? And again, feel free just to type in as little. You could say great, or you could say bad, or you could type in as much as you'd like. But something that's, I think, always a challenge, always It's a work in progress. This whole path of learning about Buddhist teachings and reading things about how to be these kind, gentle, peaceful human beings, and recognizing that many of us have spent our lives doing the exact opposite of everything the Buddha is teaching. It's really imperative that we cultivate patience because, if we read a couple Buddhist books and then we compare our day-to-day actions to, a lot of the things we read, we could get a little bit disappointed and maybe discouraged. So I think the ability to stay patient during this, during your practice is really important. It helps, I find, to remember that no matter how far you think you have to go, you've actually come a long way. And, one way to just recognize that is, here it is, Tuesday, 7 o'clock. There's a million other things you could be doing, and yet you chose to be here. To my knowledge, nobody has forced you to sit with us right now. So here you are. And there would have been a time in your life that you did not choose to be here. And like I said, other than maybe Eddie, nobody else is forced to be here right now. I got to make jokes. I haven't seen y'all in a long time. So I was just scanning the list and that popped into my head. So, I think about in my own journey that, what kind of a miracle it is that for me, that this is what I do. That I spend my life getting people to find a sense of peace and happiness in their days. And, I spend my time trying to help people stay calm and focused and try to do good things. And, that if I could get to this place, then that means anybody to be here right now. Because there's a lot of other things you can do, some of them maybe not so productive, but still chose to be here. So you're giving yourself some patience by continuing to practice. So, all right, let's see what people have shared. Rambling. Brian and Linda working on it, but still find it challenging. Yeah, definitely. Always a work in progress. Amy, not good. Oh, there you go. Easy enough. Joe, I feel that my patience is getting a workout, but as time goes on, I feel like I'm conquering something within myself. Yeah, that's great. A little twist on that is to remember ultimately from the Buddhist sense that there's no self to conquer. So it might seem like a bit of a contradiction where I'm asking everybody, how are we at being patient with ourselves and others? And then I'm telling you, there's no self to be patient with. But just ponder that for a bit. So, Carla, I'm getting better. Congratulations. Samir, as you know, parenting is my practice. I'm proud of my presence here and my effort. Always tough. Yeah, definitely. You get a couple little ones running around and they will absolutely challenge your patience. Denise, Eddie says 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Hey, that's still at the end of the day, 1 step forward. So that's great. That's great. That's great. 1 step at a time. Benton, I often think of patience as another facet of love. Without this practice, it is so easy to give up on someone or something. Love's about being patient while things don't go your way. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's beautifully said. And also, and especially when it comes to patient with yourself, you have to have love for yourself. Without loving yourself, it's easy to give up on yourself. So when things don't go your way, be patient with yourself. Chuck, lately I've found that my biggest struggles with patience occur when I try to accomplish too much in one day. Yeah, sure. It's probably a challenge a lot of people have, laying out all these goals of things you want to accomplish in one day, in 1 week, in 1 year. Um, and as you know, that Zen practice of just coming back to one moment at a time, one breath at a time, one thing at a time. So at the end of the day, whatever gets done, gets done. We accomplish a lot throughout the day, but it's often maybe not things that we had anticipated or planned or wanted to get done. So we may have a list of 8 things we want to accomplish in a day, and maybe you only get 2 of them done, but we accomplished a lot of other things throughout the day. It just might not have been the things that we said we needed to do. So, maybe you laid around for 3 hours and you were lazy and did nothing. So you accomplished laying around for 3 hours and being lazy and doing nothing. So you still accomplished something. Don't forget that. Marisa, struggling right now. Yeah. You and Amy can hang out. Well, not probably actually, but you know what I mean? Always a struggle. Some days better than others. So just keep practicing, keep working at it. So, all right, with that, we'll start the meditation practice. For those who are maybe joining us for the first time, there's a couple things to tell you before we begin. Nothing's going to happen to you. You will not float away. You won't have any mystical, magical experiences. You won't figure anything out whatsoever. Your mind won't shut off, won't stop racing. Don't judge your practice when you don't ask yourself, is this working or not working? Am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? We're just going to sit. We're going to breathe. You'll hear sounds inside, sounds outside. This is life. Life is filled with chaos, and this practice is learning to get quiet and still within all the chaos. So posture, you just want to be comfortable. Slide into the front third if you're on a cushion, allowing the back to straighten, shoulders are relaxed, hands can be on the knees or in the lap. If you're on a chair, couch, whatever you're sitting on, also just trying to sit up straight. I'll suggest closing the eyes if comfortable. Mouth is open or closed. I'll guide us as we begin, and we'll settle into a little bit of silence. And again, starting with the eyes closed if comfortable, or slightly open. Mouth open or closed. Start with taking 3 deep breaths slowly. And eventually, you settle into a natural rhythm of the breath. Noticing the mind as it wanders. jumping from thought to thought. We'll start with gently guiding the attention and focus to the stomach or chest. Breathing in, feel them rise. Breathing out, they fall. Simply continuing this practice, observing sensation of breath. And as the mind wanders, lost in thought, recognize it. Release that thought. Return attention, focus to the breath. Where's your mind? Return attention, focus to the breath. letting go of expectations, letting go of judgments from the practice, just sitting, breathing. Breathing in, follow breath in. Breathing out, follow breath out. Keeping the mind alert, aware of each sound, each thought, each physical sensation, yet concerned with nothing but sitting, breathing. And with the body still, rested, and the speech quiet, and the mind learning to settle, know what it's like to just sit and breathe, knowing with each breath there's nothing else to do, nowhere else to go, no one else to be. Everything beautiful, exactly as it is. Sitting, breathing. And once again, taking 3 deep breaths slowly. And as you slowly open the eyes, slowly begin to move. Most important, with the practice of meditation, is to recognize how you feel now, immediately after. Compare this to how you typically feel throughout your day. Recognize the difference, if there is one. And ask yourselves how you prefer to feel every day for the rest of your life. And realize however you feel now, if it's quiet and calm and still, or a busy mind, racing mind, whatever you're sitting with, has nothing to do with anything I said. It's nothing to do with how we sit, hold the hands across the legs. It's nothing to do with the sounds around us or anything else for that matter. It has everything to do with your own mind and your own mind's reaction to an external condition. This is what the Buddha called pratitya samuppada, dependent origination. This is the basis of the Buddha's awakening. The word Buddha simply means awakened. He was a human being no different than any one of us who began to understand why he suffered, why he got angry, sad, depressed, stressed, anxious. He began to understand the causal relationship of all phenomena. And what that means, very simply, for all of us, regardless of where you come from or what you believe in or where you think you're going, your whole life is filled with things that happen. You react. More stuff happens, and more reaction. That's it. This practice is learning what it's like to respond to something quietly and peacefully and still. For most of us, the way you responded to the last 20 minutes is quite different from how you respond to everything else that's happening throughout your day. So all we're working on is closing the gap to where the way you feel now is closer to how you feel always. just as driven, motivated, productive, successful, whatever that means to you in your respective lives. But with a mind that's steady, clear, and focused, distracted by nothing, disturbed by no one. It's not an easy practice. It's not necessarily fun. But meditation is free. Buddhist practice is free. It's sitting, breathing, learning to be kind to yourself and everybody else. And that's it. Once we stop trying to change, fix, control, manipulate everything around us, and we work on changing our mind and our reaction to the world around us, life gets simpler. But it's a practice, and it really does require patience, as I started tonight with. As you begin to do a meditation practice daily and you explore the nature of your own mind and your thoughts and your words and your actions, it really helps to be patient with yourself. So with that, I'll pause. I always prefer to just open up to questions. Meditation, Buddhist practice, anything you're sitting with. I always prefer to respond to whatever is on your mind, and go from there. So if you're joining us for the first time, again, welcome. You'll see a chat box there on your screen somewhere. Feel free to type in a question or thoughts, and I will respond. So, excuse me. I know it sounds kind of odd, but when you find yourself lacking patience or struggling with patience, try to be patient with yourself. I think we've become so, when I say we, I don't know what anyone else is going through, but I'm just making a general statement about my experience with people who come into meditation practice or wanting to learn about Buddhism. Is it's often coming from a place where the individual, potentially you, has been very critical of themselves for many things. And often there's a standard or a bar that you have set for yourself, and you feel that you should achieve it. And if you don't achieve it, then you are disappointed and angry and feel like a failure. And this is incredibly toxic and unhealthy. So this practice is learning to recognize that it's okay to have goals and dreams and ideas and visions of ways we want to be and what we want to accomplish. But first and foremost is to recognize that you're human and you got to be patient. So, questions, meditation, Buddhist practice, anything you're sitting with. I will be patient, waiting for questions to come in. All right. Question. What sutra do you suggest to start with? I'm reading the Lotus Sutra on and off, but just wondering. Uh, I don't look at Buddhist teachings and suggest that there's a sutra that you start with. Are all phenomenal, and they will all resonate with different at different times and in different ways. The sutras, let me back up for a minute for those who don't know or maybe brand new to Buddhism. The word sutra means thread, and it is the body of teachings from the Buddha. So there's the Buddha, the man himself who lived and died. There's the Dharma, which are the teachings, and there's the Sangha, which is the community. At the beginning, we take refuge in those three things. And when we look at the Dharma, the teachings of the Buddha, these were all memorized initially 2,500 years ago when the Buddha was alive. And I don't know, 50, 100 years after the Buddha passed, they came together and realized that they should probably start to record, transcribe these teachings. Again, as an oral transmission of the teachings, everything was memorized. So they began to document these sutras. And most of the sutras start out, thus have I heard at such and such place, at such and such time, with such and such people, the Buddha once said. So it's a retelling of what he said. Now, over the last 2,500 years, you see these sutras that have been translated into so many different languages, different variations, translations. You could look at an English translation of one sutra 15 different ways, 50 different ways. So you could read the Lotus Sutra 5 times from 5 different translators and get different pieces from it. The Pali Canon, which is the Theravada teachings of the Buddha, they say the old school of the elders, the original teachings of the Buddha. Website Access to Insight has a lot of the Theravada sutras on there. You could literally close your eyes and pick one and read it. They're not sutras that are like sequential to where it's easier or harder. There's not like beginning sutras and advanced sutras. I'm a personal fan. The Mahayana Sutras with the Diamond Sutra, the Heart Sutra, the Awakening of Faith, the Mahayana. These to me are important teachings that have resonated with my life and my practice. But that doesn't mean that it would resonate with you. So I think the real answer to your question is in your actual question yourself, which is I'm reading the Lotus Sutra on and off. So I would suggest reading it on. These sutras are meant to be treated as very sacred, special teachings that we prepare ourselves to engage with. I'm not necessarily discouraging someone who gets in bed at night with their iPhone and pulls up some app and starts reading sutras. I'm not saying that that's the worst thing in the world, but I would suggest reading sutras differently than maybe we read other things, novels or whatever it might be. I suggest creating a time and space where you're wide awake and you've done a little meditation practice and you're in a relatively quiet space and you've cleaned your area, and you can actually focus on the sutra. So I think the approach to how we read sutras and our ability to take in this wisdom is important. So again, just as an example, to lay in bed at night and say, I'm going to read 10 pages of the Lotus Sutra before I go to bed. I wouldn't say is the best way to do it. So hopefully that's helpful. You know, again, it's such a personal journey with sutras and teachings. See what resonates with you, and go from there. So hopefully that's helpful. Yeah, my master used to talk about how to study Buddhism, and I think that was very important. Um, no matter what sutra you pick up, there's so much to be gained and so much we can learn from it. But if we're not physically, mentally, emotionally present and available for really working on comprehending and sitting with the teachings, then it doesn't really matter what we're reading. So prepare ourselves to read the sutras, to study. So, and keep in mind also that I know often we get ingrained, whether it's a physical book or on our phone or iPad or whatever, we kind of get in this habit of reading sutras or Buddhist, sutras specifically, as if we're just reading a book. Um, but keep in mind that these were actually teachings that the Buddhists said. So I think there's this mindset of reading a book, then sitting and engaging, watching somebody speak to you. So when you read a sutra, it has an opportunity to sit with the Buddha himself and listen to what he's saying to you. If we take that approach, and this is what I was taught, if we take that approach, then we're actually engaging, almost an embracing in this dialogue with an incredibly wise teacher, as opposed to just reading a story that we're then just going to kind of get lost on. So I hope that's helpful. And Lotus Sutra is phenomenal. So, I mean, there's nothing, it's a great sutra. Other thoughts, questions? Good question. You're welcome. Another one I think that's really great for, especially for lay people, which I'm assuming we all are, is the Vimalakirti Sutra, Vimalakirti Nirdesa Sutra. Vimalikirti, Vimalakirti. It's often referred to as the layperson's sutra. So a wonderful teaching. And as I said earlier, I'm, as a Zen practitioner, very, in a way, biased towards the Mahayana sutras, specifically the Prajnaparamita sutras, specifically the Diamond Sutra, Heart Sutra. So, other thoughts, questions, meditation, Buddhist practice, anything you're sitting with? And just, I'm kind of repeating something I just said, but as I'm thinking it through in my head again, think as if you were going to listen to somebody speak, and how you would prepare yourself for that, how present you would be for that, the mindset you would be in for that. if you were going to listen to a very engaging, intelligent, wise human, whoever it might be, you probably wouldn't show up on your couch in pajamas under a blanket, you know, laying there half asleep, trying to read. You'd be really awake. You'd be excited. You'd be very present with it. So I think really advice for everybody is engage in the teachings and the readings with that same mindset of showing up and being excited to learn. I have this notion that sutras are an undiscovered treasure, and I'm opening to something. Yeah, I think that's the treasure, the jewels. The teachings are incredible pieces of wisdom. So I think that's a great approach. Other thoughts, questions, anything you're sitting with? I've also found great benefit from reading sutras multiple times. I think it's important to recognize that as we study and learn, that as we change, as we evolve, as we continue to go deeper with our practice, and as we cultivate this wisdom and compassion, it changes who we are drastically. And as we change and we kind of peel away layers of ego and pride and self and all this ignorance and anger and hatred, things become more clear to us. So it's like each day our vision becomes clearer and clearer and clearer, less cloudy. And as our vision becomes more clear, we're able to see more. So keep going back to things also. It's something that resonates with you. Did your master have a daily routine that he really wanted you to adopt? Well, it wasn't so much that the master had a daily routine. My life was in a Buddhist monastery, so in the Buddhist college. So if referring to that time, that was my schedule, was what went on there. You're up at 4:30 in the morning, 4:45 in the morning, you're in line, you have your robe on. You've basically taken 15 minutes to brush your teeth, splash water in your face, put on your robe and get in line. And then you walk to morning chanting, 5 a.m. You're doing morning chanting. That's probably till about 6 a.m. Then there's a little restroom break, and then you are back in line and you walk to the dining hall and you're having morning meal at 6:30. That's done, I think, maybe 7:15, and then you walk, and we went to morning Tai Chi practice just to keep moving, and then you go to meditation, and then you go back. I mean, so there's, our schedule was very structured, and it continued throughout the day with, time for class and study, and time for meditation, time for work period, whatever that might be, cleaning the toilets, sweeping at the monastery, just taking care of the physical grounds. Such an important piece. It's one thing that, and most of you, especially those I see here, most of you are actively engaged at the Dharma Bum Temple. And even though we've been closed for 14 months, once we open again, it'll seem like you never left. And It's why, for example, Saturday morning, I lead the Saturday morning 11 to 12, and then we have a work practice period after from 12 to 2 where people can stay and, help clean the temple and work in the garden and care for the grounds. And, I'm always so amazed at, uh, for me, the most important part was giving to uh, the place that was giving to me. And so, there's a great story about this old Zen master, and he was he would always say, "No work, no eat." And he was starting to get older, physically very weak, and all of his disciples wanted him to ease off on the working so much because um, they didn't feel it was safe for him to work. So he stopped eating, and he said, "No work, no eat." Um, and so they decided to let him work because he needed to eat. Uh, and so I think that there's such an opportunity to work and take care of a physical temple, that to me has always been the greatest joy. It's one of the reasons that when we started the Dharma Pum Temple, I wanted a physical temple to take care of. That's what gave me the greatest practice. That's what gave me the greatest joy. Um, so I think as I see your question come in, and how do you structure your day now as a person in this life? Um, it's really not much different. Um, the physical place might be different depending upon where I am. And we're in a pandemic now, so things change. But treat your room as your temple. Treat your house, your apartment, your car, wherever you live, as your temple. Um, have a schedule that you follow, of meditation, study, work, whatever it might be. Um, every situation is going to be different. Running a nonprofit organization is, that's what I do. So, it's like running a business. And for me, that's my practice. Somebody has to be on the phone with SDG&E for 2 hours to make sure everything is set up properly. Someone has to be on the phone with Republic Services trash company to make sure that they're picking up the recycling and the trash. These types of things, to me, this is the practice. So it doesn't matter where you are, what you do, whether you're in a monastery, whether you're at home, whether you're a student. Structure your day where you have times for meditation, for study, for work, all those things. So, all right, with that, I think I'll close. Good questions. I appreciate them always. We'll go ahead and join palms. May the benefit of this practice be shared with all beings in all directions. May all be at peace. May all be free from suffering. May any merit gained from this practice be transferred to those who need it most. All right, a few quick announcements before you log off here. Thanks for joining. Again, my name is Jeff. I'm a Dharma bum. We opened up this temple 14 years ago to bring Buddhist practice to those who show up. So I appreciate you showing up. Those of us who lead, we're not monks or nuns or masters or gurus. We're not teachers. We're just practitioners. We're doing our best to take our understanding of Buddhist teachings and put it into terms that make sense to those who show up. So every night we have different classes going on. We closed, as I said earlier, 14 months ago due to the pandemic. So everything is virtual now. Recovery classes for drug and alcohol addiction, college group, teenage group, Monday through Friday in the morning. We have a couple book studies going on Saturdays, every other Saturday and Monday nights. Those books you can get at Buddha for You. The gift shop is also closed, but you can shop online there if you need anything. We have two new programs launching. One is the Homeless Hats Project, where we are knitting, crocheting, and any other weighing beanies to pass out to people who live on the streets. That kicked off officially this past Sunday. I think we had probably 12, 15 people. It was a great group. A really fun project. No experience necessary. Just show up. They'll train you, teach you, get you supplies. It's a really wonderful thing to make some beanies, and then they will be distributed safely to those who need them. And also, I believe it will officially start this Sunday night. We will start a new program. It's a Tonglen, which is a Tibetan meditation, ascending and receiving of compassion for those who need it. That will be Sunday nights at 7 o'clock. You can go on the website. You'll see Tonglen meditation under our programs. So really grateful to really this kind of whole volunteer virtual team that came together and came up with some really wonderful ideas. I think that's about all. Please stay home. Please wear a mask. Please do your best to make sure people don't get sick. So be well, and we will see you soon.